Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Everything Vaguely Paranormal. I'm Shelley Pruitt, and my partners in the paranormal, Mr. Blake Smith and Mr. Ryan Roberts. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey.
I promise not to do Transylvanian accent tonight. Good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry, I was taking a drink right before we went, and it went down the wrong tube, but I was trying not to cough for the intro, so...
Your mic's muted during the intro. It's totally fine.
No. As soon as we came on, I was trying. My body was trying to cough, and I was like, "Oh, hi.
Oh goodness." Well,
Mike, leave it to Ryan to screw it up after almost 4 years of doing it, or 3 years of doing it.
I know. I just finesse it. What are you talking about? Anyway, go ahead.
Well, guys, tonight we have a couple of people that we happen to meet at Spirits in the Spring that are going to be joining us tonight. And they've been friends for 14 years, and they are paranormal investigators. And they wrote a book, and it's called Unlock the Unknown, Keys to the Paranormal, which I've been reading. And I really like their stories. They're personal accounts, personal stories. They switch off telling the stories in the book. And they have been to places you have heard of, like Bobby Mackey's, like the Bell Witch Cave, Fox Hollow Farm, which is somewhere I want to get, Ashmore Estates, Sheboygan. And so I'm really excited to get to talk to them so they can give us some of their personal stories of some of these places I've been and some of these places that we have yet to go. So I want to go ahead and introduce you guys tonight to Kristin Menth and Heather Bourget. And please tell me I said it right, Heather.
You did.
I got it. That T throws me on it. Hi, how are y'all tonight?
Good. How are you guys?
Oh, awesome. So, okay, so you guys have been friends for 14 years. So did y'all just sit down one day and go, everything we've done has been so fascinating, we have to put it in a book? Or what was the catalyst for writing the book?
I pretty much that. They were just like, gosh, we have so much stuff. What are we going to do with this? And decided, why don't we just write it down? Heather's always wanted to write a book. So I'm like, I wasn't the literature person and like growing up. It was never my thing. I was the math person. But it was a lot of fun.
So Heather, you're the English major then, huh?
Not major, just it was always a bucket list to write a book, and we got talking, and then it started out as we wanted to share our experiences, and then as we really kind of started digging into it, it was like, well, we want to capture the history of these places too, and then as the writing progressed, it really actually became more about the history. I mean, those are the stories that matter. It's the people who walked the halls, people who worked there or lived there. Those are the stories that ended up really mattering to us. And we still included ours just to kind of try to validate and corroborate some of the pieces of history that we had uncovered. But the depth of these locations just goes so deep, and they became really personal for both of us.
So is there a location that is like we all have our favorites. We all have that location that if somebody says, hey, you want to go, you jump at it and you're like, absolutely, I'm going there. What is your favorite location that you like to investigate?
Ooh, you go first.
Well, one of my favorite locations was Vaile Mansion.
Okay.
We just, everybody had so many experiences, and I had a lot of kind of first time experiences. That one really stands out as far as meaningful places. First Ward holds a very special place in both of our hearts, both because of the owner Justin and also just the experiences that we've had there. Kristin, you want to chime in?
I mean, I agree with the First Ward, Sheboygan, just because the county hospital, just because we've been there so much. We've been there so much. I feel like I already know it.
Right.
Well, you get to know some of the spirits. I mean, I had a buddy, Paul, that every time we were in the tunnels, I would say hi to Paul. And I actually happened to bring my mom there once, and I just had a spirit box and one other piece of equipment. And I said, hey, Paul, just stopping in to say hi. This is my mom and my loving mom. Hi, Paul, I'm Linda, Heather's mom. And clear as day, hi, Mom.
Oh,
wow.
You know, so I mean, you kind of
Uh-huh.
get to know some of the energies and the spirits there, and we had that with First Lord as well.
Right, you definitely do. You definitely, when you go into a place, like, you do form bonds with some of these, because they're people. There's people without a body. That's what they are. How did Paul make himself known to you initially?
Oh gosh. I think it just came through the spirit box, and so that was a name that came through, and so I just made a habit every time that I would be in the tunnels, I'd say hi to Paul, and
Mm-hmm.
I would say 95% of the time I got some kind of a response back, either through, multiple pieces of equipment or through the spirit box.
In your research, were you able to figure out who Paul was, or is he just somebody that there's kind of lost to the pages of history?
When it comes to a place like that, obituaries often weren't public knowledge.
Right.
Families didn't want to acknowledge that their loved ones had been in an institution or a hospital. And another thing that we really learned through all of our research is, like in today's day and age, we know lobotomies are bad, right? Like, you just don't go do lobotomies on people. But
Right.
back then, tuberculosis hospitals we investigated. Well, some of those treatments, but you have to be respectful to the time period when these
Mm-hmm.
places were in operation, and respect the fact that we don't do that anymore. But back then, those were cutting edge technologies.
It's basically kind of like all that they knew. And in my opinion, like, when you go in with that kind of respect for the historical aspect of it and what they knew at the time, I feel like you get more communication that way, other than just shooting everything down. It's like, oh, that's horrible, that's bad, you don't do that anymore, and just being mean about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at Sheboygan y'all were talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Paul was at Sheboygan, yes.
Okay, so for our viewers that may not know what Sheboygan is, I mean, we do, but tell us a little bit about Sheboygan. Like, why do y'all keep going back there? What is it the history? Like, tell us a little bit about the place.
Well, we were a part of the group that did the public tours with them. We kind of started investigating right off the bat. We were there for I think it was the first investigation. So we've been there from the beginning. So we've seen the change from start to, like, just this last year, of how much it's changed. And I mean, there's more spirits that have been more active since we've been going there, making themselves known, or avoiding us when they want to, or disliking me specifically. There's just one.
I'm with you, girl. They usually don't like me either.
It's only one so far that didn't like me. And then I mean, there was, I did have an experience that was negative at Fox Hollow Farm that was not very welcoming, but that I got very firm with my words and it stopped. So I was able to get out of the situation, luckily.
Well, now you have to tell us what the situation was.
It was in the apartment above the garage where he was living towards the end of the marriage. And I was sitting on an armchair. I had my arms rested. And the other two that were with me were sitting on the couch across from me. And I just felt weight go down. Like, I couldn't even move my fingers up. And I'm like, something's pushing me down, like it's sitting on top of me. And it got to the point where I could barely breathe. And I'm like, get off. You need to get off of me. And I'm like, okay, we're done here. We're walking over there.
I'm like, that's what
me out.
I was gonna say. Yeah, that's what we say. We're like, we're not gonna go in and instigate it, but we're definitely not gonna back down from it if they want to step to us,
Right.
Correct.
Absolutely. So I told you I told you on the pre-broadcast that I was gonna ask you about this. I want to know about the airtight bridge. Because in just reading that story, just the fact that whenever you're driving up to it, you have this feeling that your car is going to die. And it turns out that there is someone from Texas who had confessed to murdering somebody there. And it was actually a lady named Diane Smalls, right? That was actually the person that was murdered and basically discarded there.
Mm-hmm.
What? Y'all just found this place by accident, right?
Yeah, actually, so we both turn on our phones after leaving Ashmore Estates at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I believe that might have been the night we got locked in.
Oh, wow.
I
It
think
probably was. Yeah. Yeah.
so. We
And
both turn on our phones. We turn on our navigation. Hers says one way, mine says another.
I was driving, so I won.
I can't argue with her. She's the woman in the relationship. So we went with her directions, and it took us down these gravel roads, and I'm
Like
just
the
sitting
road
there
just kept getting like smaller and smaller and smaller, and like civilization got like
closing in.
further and further away. And
You're like,
well,
congratulations,
what was-
there's a murderer out here.
Well, what was crazy is we had the windows down because I mean we had a bit of a drive. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. We're both
Right.
tired. Radio's blasting. Windows are down. And all of a sudden, like this thing just comes in, starts kind of coming into focus. And I didn't even realize that I kind of took my foot off the gas. And we just kind of roll up to it. And, you know, I turn the radio down because, you know, you can always see better when you turn the radio
Oh,
down.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So I turn the radio down, and all of a sudden it hits us both at the same time. We hear absolutely nothing. It is dead silent outside. There's no crickets. There's no frogs. There's no nothing. There's
And
there it is.
I'm sorry. This is what they were looking at. This is the bridge.
Mm.
They
Thank
rode
goodness
this
Kristin had the
bridge.
wits to take a picture of it because I'm just like gripping the steering wheel, and she's like, "Are you gonna go?" I'm like, "No." No,
It looks at, for those of you who live in Texas, it looks a lot like Goatman's Bridge. It's one of those single lane bridges. One car can pass at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks super creepy in the picture. I know that it doesn't do it justice, but y'all have a very good picture of it in here. So you're rolling up on it and you're like, what the actual hell?
Yep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in my head, I'm thinking, this is where we die.
I believe you actually
And
said
it's Heather's fault
this
because
is
she
where
chose
we
her
die.
GPS over mine.
So you said it's dead silent outside.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you get out of the car and walk up to
Oh,
the
no.
bridge
Oh,
itself,
no,
or
no, no,
okay?
no.
That's the difference between you and me.
I was just about to say, Shelly would have already been across it.
Uh-huh.
She'd been standing in the middle of it, like, come on.
What are y'all doing?
Damn. Yeah.
No, and I honestly don't remember how long we sat there. And finally, I realized that I was the one who was in control if we were going to go or not.
It may have been 30 seconds. It may have been 5 minutes. I have no idea.
No, and then I just kind of gently touched the gas, and I can still just hear just like the tongue as like the tires are slowly rolling over, and we didn't look back. Neither of us looked back. And then when we were writing the book, in like just random, I get a text from Kristin. She's like, "Oh my God, I found the bridge." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "That bridge, it has a name." And I was like, "Really?" And then I started digging into the history, and I was like, and it was called Airtight Bridge because vehicles would stall on it.
Oh.
And we had talked about that. I was like, what happens if my car dies like right here, right now? We're gonna die right here, right now if my car just shuts off. We've never gone anywhere where the thought has ever even popped in our head that the car would stop.
Right. Well,
There actually is. I think you found some history on it that it was due to something with the fuel line and the angle of the bridge in these old cars.
Yeah.
So that's why there was
that's interesting.
actual mechanical reason why it would happen. But I mean, years ago, you don't think of that kind of stuff when you're driving over a bridge and your vehicle just turns off on you.
Right. It kind of reminds me of like a Gravity Hill situation, you know, where like the angle is what's causing stuff to happen. But did you guys go back out and investigate once you figured out what the name of the bridge was? And
nope, we have not
Okay.
been there.
Go back?
Not yet. We haven't had a chance to go back yet. No.
We will, but it's been a few years since we've been to Ashmore, and obviously I found that bridge information or the name of the bridge while we were writing the book.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, what part of the country are you guys in? Because you said it's been a minute since you've been to Ashmore. Like, is Ashmore kind of far from you guys, or?
I think it's about 8 hours.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why you
Okay.
haven't been back.
Yeah.
Well, we've been
That
back
makes a lot of
In
sense.
case the accent didn't give it away, we're not from Canada, but close enough.
Good
Our O's
Minnesota
are a little
girls,
different. We say bag.
We're not going to go through all the words that we say. We're just
No.
move on.
Right?
Oh no, because between our accents and y'all's accents, we'll be here all night.
Yeah, people are confused right now.
I did live in Texas for a little while, and I was in sales, and I had to actually fake a Southern accent because nobody wanted to buy from a Yankee.
Oh.
So,
I hate to put you on the spot, but can you give me just a little bit of it if you feel like it? You don't.
I
have
don't
to.
know if I could.
Okay.
It's real easy. All you do is put sugar or honey after everything. Hi, sugar. That's all you gotta do.
Darling, honey.
or honey.
Oh, like Charles said, the last time we were up north that far, like when we were in Wisconsin and we were up at Broadhead Manor and going around Broadhead and everything like that, every person we walked in, y'all aren't from here, are you? How could you tell?
What gave it away?
What gave it away?
Here's your sign.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But that's okay. That we had more fun than anybody else did.
Oh, absolutely. We love it up that direction. It's gorgeous, and the people are fantastic. So
Yeah.
So
Minnesota, nice.
Absolutely, they are.
Except for on the roads.
That ain't no joke.
Is
But it's
anybody
nothing.
nice
It's
about
nothing like
anywhere
Dallas
else?
traffic.
Absolutely. Well, I want to ask you guys too about the Billy Creek Village, because we actually went to the Billy Creek Village and we walked around. We didn't really have a lot of time to investigate it. We were waiting to go to the Indiana State Sanatorium, and it was a little bit before our check-in, so we got to go and walk around and see some of these places that you mentioned in the Billy Creek. But you guys obviously had an experience in the barn, and now we went into the barn and we kind of climbed up into the rafters, and that was creepy, going up the stairs. But you guys had things where you had like cat balls going off and all this other kind of. What was it that was going on in the barn that wigged y'all out so much?
I just there was Kara, another investigator, was on the stairs, and I was like right when you walk in, to the left was the stairs that went up, and then to the right it was just wide open. And so, if I'm not mistaken, I think we had one or two REM pods kind of where it was wide open. And then I had my geophone on the steps, which for people that aren't familiar, that picks up vibration. And so there's 7, 8 lights across, and the stronger the vibration, the more lights will light up.
Right.
I had that at I can't remember if it was at the top of the stairs or right behind her on the stairs. And I just like we kept hearing things, but it's a barn, it's going to creak. There's going to be noises. But then you hear very distinct footsteps from behind her. And I could just see something, and the geophone started blinking, and then the equipment behind me went off almost like a distract. It all just happened very fast.
So, I mean, did it feel like you were getting surrounded? Or
I'm sure you guys have had it where sometimes things truly feel like a distraction. It's like something's happening over here, but then you catch movement out of your eye over here, and it's almost like they're trying to draw your attention away from where it's actually going to happen. And I felt like that, and especially because I'm hearing the equipment behind me, but I'm seeing behind her. I don't want to go that way. I don't want to go that way. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was a fairly brief encounter in the sense of it probably was over the course of maybe 30 seconds to a minute. But it was a very intense 30 seconds.
It was enough to wig you out and kind of go, yeah, I think it's time to move to a different location.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, and you pick up the energy, you get that vibe, which is why you get the hair that stands up, or you just get that gut feeling of, oh, what's gonna happen?
It's like, I need to go over here now.
I didn't see in that story, did any of you go, because see, I'm bookmarked some of the ones I wanted to talk about. Did you guys feel unsafe? Was it a feeling that you felt unsafe, as if you were going to be harmed, or did you feel like as if you were in the way and they were trying to get their business done?
Kristin, you had a pretty cool experience in the back of the store that you probably can speak more to that than I can.
Yeah, so it was more surprise and welcome than anything. Because I think we were like the first people that actually investigated there. So it was Steve, Kayla, and myself in the back of the general store. And I think she was in Estes, and we said hello, and it said hi. It said hi first, I believe. And then we said hello, and it says, "You can hear me?"
Yeah, I've got that story right here. You can hear me right there on the page.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it was just, and I think in the maybe 20 minutes, half an hour that we were in there, it continued to like ask questions in a way that it's verifying that we're hearing it. Kind of like when we're investigating, we ask questions waiting for a response. I felt like we were getting that from the Estes session. Like they were checking to see if we were there. And I felt like so reversed.
That's so cool when that happens, isn't it?
Almost like they thought you were haunting them.
Yeah. I think, is that The Others? Is that the movie The Others?
Oh, yeah. I love that. I am your daughter.
So it's a lot like that.
I was gonna say it's almost like they like they were investigating you for being in their space. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and we kind of gathered it was a child that lived above the general store. And I got a sense of a woman, and then it all stopped when there's a shadow outside of the window behind me, of course. So there's always the shadows behind me, and everybody else sees it, and I'm just
what over here? Yeah.
But as soon as that shadow kind of peeked in the door, like they saw a full silhouette, and that area was fenced off, so I know it wasn't a part of the team. As soon as that shadow peeked in, the activity stopped.
Huh. I wonder if it was like their parent or something that was kind of keeping them in line to silence them in some way. So did you guys have any other experiences in Billy Creek? Because I think, Shelley, what was the house? We went into like the residential house.
We went into the residential house, and
yeah,
we also went to the schoolhouse. The schoolhouse, Ryan, was the one that got really weird on us.
Right.
Yeah.
The other one that stands out to me is I was in the schoolhouse, and those windows are actually high.
They are
high, and we really actually weren't having much activity, but I saw a full figure walk across the windows outside, and I was like, well, that's weird. And I didn't realize how high up the windows were and how far that person probably would have had to have been away, but the silhouette was right against the window outside. And I walked outside, and there was nobody there, and there was the only person I saw was way too far away to have gotten where they were as fast. And then I looked and realized like the person would have had to have been like really, really tall for me to see their full shadow that close to the window.
Yeah, we basically got some when we were in the schoolhouse, Ryan. Didn't we see something like in the front, like you were standing up there and I was sitting in one of the chairs, and didn't you kind of like turn and see something kind of go like it was going towards the door? We saw like a shadow or something go across, and we heard some kind of like knock, almost like they were trying to open the door, but it sounded more like a knock. But there was like knock and like a little rattle. So we were like, is somebody trying to come in here? We went and looked. There wasn't anybody else at the door. So we were like.
And that place is in the middle of nowhere, too. So it's kind of hard to get to. So if somebody else is out there, you're going to know it.
Yes.
Now, did you guys get to go to the sanatorium at all? Or are you just kind of stuck to Billy Creek?
Daytime tour.
Okay.
I don't think we really had anything happen. The random tarot cards kind of creeped us out. Especially they're very oddly placed.
Yeah.
I do remember that I think Heather and I decided to just wander away from everybody, and we found tunnels, and we just popped up in another building, and our group just happened to be there. I think we may have surprised them as well.
I think we were surprised too. It's like, oh wow, now where are we?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that place is a maze when you really get in there. It's insane. I mean, that's so much different from what we're used to, because like the asylums that we've been to, like Sheboygan County Asylum or Hospital, the Randolph County Asylum, they're also mirrored, and you can usually find your way back. Whereas the sanatorium, if you don't know where you are, you will get lost for at least a few minutes.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
Where you are.
That is just a straight up complex of just pathways to walk down and get lost in. Yeah. We had some fun times roaming those halls and tunnels.
Well, where was it Missouri State Penn, Kristin, where we were walking on one of the
catwalk?
Yeah, and I mean, and we had walked that, I don't know how many times, because we've been there a few times.
Right.
And there was one time where I swear we were walking for a half hour and we never made it to the end. Like it got to a point where we looked at each other and said, do we keep going or do we turn around and try to go back? Because it's not that far from one end to the other. And
maybe 30 feet.
Yeah, well, you can either go forward or backward. Like there's nowhere else to go unless you go in a cellar over the edge. And we just, but we, we're just kind of talking and everything. And
I don't think that was Missouri. That was Ohio State Penitentiary.
Was that Ohio? And
yeah.
It was just, it was so bizarre.
Yeah, Ohio State, you can definitely get, because it's so huge, it's so massive, the largest freestanding cell block in the world. And if you make a wrong turn, it takes a minute to figure out where the hell you are.
You'll be walking that cell block maze forever if you aren't careful.
Yeah. And then you get to the end, and then you look, and the stairs are blocked off because they're broken. And it's like, okay, now we got to turn around.
It's like, damn it.
I think
we definitely get our steps in.
Stairs. I think I was like, nah, I can make it.
Kristin goes first.
Yeah, the heavier one, right?
So I want to know, because Ryan and I have investigated Bobby Mackey's twice, and now unfortunately you can no longer investigate it. And y'all had an experience at the bar with the drink glasses. Sounded like somebody was making drinks when you were there.
That was upstairs. That was in the
that was in Carl's
in Carl's apartment.
Yes. Yep.
Oh.
Yes.
Really?
And the other crazy thing that happened in Carl's apartment is we had a tripwire laid out, and pretty much the lights lay flat, like they only pretty much lay one way, and there was a small group of us, maybe 4 or 5 of us, and I mean it's a smaller space, but everybody was spaced out, nobody was moving. And after that, the whole tripwire lit up, and one of the lights had flipped on its side,
right,
and nobody had moved. And I mean it's not a light piece of equipment, and the fact that nobody had moved, and for that one light to have flipped, we had no explanation for that.
So you knew it was flat when you started?
Yes. Yep.
And nobody had accidentally stepped on it, tripped over it?
Nobody had moved. No.
Okay. And so whenever it starts lighting up, you've got one that goes hello and turns sideways.
Yep.
Okay. So I have to ask about the well area of Bobby Mackey's, because this is my particular. I do not think that there's anything demonic in that well.
No, I don't think so.
I think that what you have more at that location is actually mobsters. We got a lot of good stuff in the cage. What used to be the old
bank
cash
vault,
cage.
yeah,
where the vault is. What did you guys get from Bobby Mackey's whenever you were there?
So, and the reason Kristin's not seeing things because she wasn't there, unfortunately. But we really kind of stayed away from the well. We really did. I mean, looked at it, but we chose to your point, to investigate more in the bar. And but what was interesting about Bobby Mackey's is we did get a lot on the spirit box, and at the time, absolutely none of it made sense, because at least for me, like when you're doing a spirit box session, of course you're asking questions and you're trying to start a conversation, you're trying to get communication. And if what you're hearing, if your brain doesn't associate it as an answer, you kind of pass it off as you're just picking up static, whatever. It's just not relevant information.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went back and listened to the audio, there were so many conversations, and I will tell you, like Kristin knows, Bobby Mackey's was my favorite and least favorite location to research because of how deep it went with the syndicate and the bootlegging.
Right.
And we really tried to truly validate, we're not like, oh, well, they can't put it on the internet if it's not true. Well, the same is true in a newspaper. Like, you can publish things that aren't true in a newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to find multiple sources to validate the information that we were writing about. Well, with Bobby Mackey's, one day it would say, Monday, oh, there was a raid at Bobby Mackey's late Sunday night and they confiscated A, B, and C. And then 2 days later, that same newspaper would say, oh, the raid at Bobby Mackey's Sunday night turned up nothing. And I was like, okay, well, that's
because the mob got to him, and we're like,
the mob
hey,
got to him.
Yeah.
I'm not speculating. I'm just telling you that was a fun but difficult place to research.
Interesting.
I think I wanted to drink when she was researching it.
Somebody that got paid off on that. That's what happened.
Yeah, but then when I went back and listened to the audio, I mean, like one of the clearest pieces that I've ever gotten on the spirit box is one guy said, "Where is he?" and the other guy said, "Dead." And they're as I listened back, there were real conversations, clear as day, rack 'em, things that,
wow.
But at the time they didn't correlate to what I was asking. So it didn't make sense. Then that's why, if, people always say, what piece of equipment do you recommend having? A voice recorder? Absolutely. Because you're never going to know. I mean, Stone Mansion, we didn't have that much activity. I got so many EVPs there, clear as day.
Right.
And never would have known it. To me, I just would have been like, I don't ever need to go back there. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, the EVPs that we got that we never even heard.
Mm-hmm.
We both played the piano and a voice asked us to keep playing, but we didn't hear it at the time. So then, of course, when I'm listening back to the audio, I felt bad. I was like, oh, we didn't keep playing.
Well, and that's how it seems to happen a lot. I know, like, we went to the Arkansas Tuberculosis Sanatorium one time, and we were walking around and, like, we had some interesting stuff happen, but we were like, we don't have a whole lot happen that we, normally have happen. And we go back, we start listening to the audio, and, like, so much evidence we just caught from just the audio that we weren't paying attention to because we weren't able to hear it either. But were you guys using, like, any particular recorder? Were you using the DR60? Were you using something different?
No, just I don't. Kristin, do you remember?
No idea. And sometimes we actually have two going.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say a $200 one and then a $70 one. And sometimes one will pick up one and the other one won't, but vice versa. Sometimes that cheap one will pick up something that the really expensive one doesn't. So you can still get all that activity and all that stuff with just a cheap voice recorder, right? You can buy from Walmart. I'm pretty sure I did buy one from Walmart before investigation. So
it is amazing how much, like, the cheap ones seem to be the ones that are really picking up more so of the activity. It's pretty interesting.
So Kristin, we know that you are, as we were told before, that you're kind of more the tech person.
Yes.
What are your favorite pieces of equipment to use other than your recorder, of course? What is the one that you have to have?
It's the cat balls. It's always the cat balls, because you can't fake that.
Mm-hmm.
Say with REM pods, I mean, just a radio frequency, your phone going off next to it is going to set it off. A lot of the stuff can get
a walkie-talkie. Remember that one?
Oh yeah.
So any of that stuff, I mean, I love the tripwire, but again, I mean, any kind of activity with electronics going by that can set it off. So I like the cat balls because it actually takes contact to be able to use them. And obviously personal experiences. I like to be just completely in the dark and by myself. I love that deafening silence, because then that's when you hear so much more is in that deafening silence, because any sound just radiates.
Right.
Has there been,
Heather, what's yours? What's your piece of equipment that you have to have?
I really do like the tripwire. And Kristin brings up a very valid point. I mean, you have to understand how to use the equipment, and you have to understand how to debunk things that can falsely set off equipment. That's the case with any piece of equipment. Yeah, I've had some really cool experiences with the tripwire. And I mean, quite frankly, we kind of came to determine that less is more. They're like, I feel like we kind of went through a phase where we felt like the more equipment we could have out, the better. And then we kind of realized that, number one, your body is your best tool.
Yep.
From what you hear and what you see, but even more so what you sense. And then just having a piece of equipment go off as you're experiencing something is just that extra validation. I had it happen a couple times at Vaile where we had a tripwire out, and I kept having this weird thing where it felt like someone was pushing down on my head, which later one of the other investigators actually saw someone behind me doing that.
What?
Oh,
wow. And I hadn't shared with him what I truly like to the extent of what I had been experiencing. And the feeling would get so overwhelming that I would have to get up and leave the room. And it happened more than once where I would get up and walk past a tripwire and feel like I walked into like an electromagnetic field and have to stop. And I was told by the people behind me, as I would pass the tripwire, the lights would light up a couple behind where I was walking as if something was following me. And then when I would stop, the light right behind me would stay lit. And so
wow.
I really fell in love with the tripwire after those experiences.
That's a little creepy.
Yeah.
That's a
I
little
like it
creepy.
when they follow. That's my favorite, is when you walk by and it follows you. It's like,
That's
oh,
cool.
okay,
I was gonna say you can follow me anywhere you want in the location, just don't follow me home. You ain't gonna like what's here. You won't like it.
That's very fair. Very true.
I've only had that happen one time, and I think it got bored and went back.
I wish I could say it's only happened one time.
Well, I didn't even know, and I went over to a friend's house, and her dogs that love me, I walked up to the door just like normal, and usually the dogs run to me and they get excited. They literally stopped about 5-6 feet away and stared at me and growled and backed away. And I'm like, oh, okay.
You're like, what's up, Fido? Calm down. You know me.
Like, okay, I brought a friend home.
I know that's like when my little miniature Pomeranian will put her back paws up on the top of the couch and look over the couch over me towards the front door and just go, and I'm like, oh, you better quit. Stop it. Like,
So,
no,
Kristin,
thank
how
you.
did you get rid of it?
I just saged.
Okay.
And it seemed to, I mean, and we carry sage with us, and I always tell myself, you should sage after everything. And of course, by the time we're done, it's just, we're so exhausted, and we're just like, oh, bed, beer and bed.
Right.
we should
See,
make a
y'all,
checklist.
every investigator does that.
We should
After
put
the-
stage beer bed.
Yeah, after the investigation, you wind down, you have a few, and you go to sleep.
Mhm.
So-
That's right.
Except for Bell Mansion, I think that was Heather. Heather said she's never seen me scared before until then, and I pretended not to be scared. But I tried to stay in the servants' quarters by myself. They told me not to, and there was.
When I get a text message at, after, half hour after we've laid down, can you come help me get my stuff? I was like, no.
You
I'm
got
on this
yourself
wing.
in.
I did.
Yeah, I'm in this wing by myself. There's nobody else in this part of the house. I'm all alone. And I put on noise canceling headphones. I try to watch some Netflix, try to wind down before I go to bed. And I had said beforehand, like, the bed is mine tonight. Please do not cross this line. You guys can have it back tomorrow. I crawl into bed, noise canceling headphones. I start hearing stuff around me. I start feeling tapping on the end of the bed.
Oh, hell.
And I'm like, and I literally could feel 3 sets of eyes on me. And I'm like, I usually don't get scared. I have stuff happen all the time. I've been scratched. I've been pushed.
Right.
I don't typically get scared, but I'm like, okay, Heather,
Like, hey, lady, you're in my bed.
can you come here?
I was
took
like,
me a
if
while
she's
to
too
get
scared to
scared.
get out of bed, I don't want to go there.
It's like, I'm good.
I wouldn't get out of that bed until she turned the light on.
Well, have you ever had something run you out of a location before?
No, but I have had to step out in the past.
Mhm.
Missouri State Pen, there's one cell that I go into, and I couldn't tell you which one it is, but I always happen to go in it, and I sit in there by myself, and I
Okay.
just get a horrible sensation whenever a man will walk by, because those are public investigations, so there's people walking around all the time. But whenever a man would walk by, I would literally get my stomach in knots, and I would feel physically sick to the point where I would have to step out of the building, out of the investigation, to be able to feel better.
Do you know if it was a woman's cell? Because I know that was like there was co-ed at
Yep.
Missouri State, so it's in
Yep.
the woman's part of the prison.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it's somewhere around, I think it's the second story in the corner towards the front of the building,
Okay.
like the front of the prison.
Okay.
But I've always gone in there, and James tested it out one time and had me close my eyes, and he sent people into the cell and out, and a woman would come in and I wouldn't feel anything. And if a man would come in, again, my eyes were closed, I would get sick.
That's
is
interesting.
Very interesting.
Were you able to find out like any history on that particular jail? Because I know sometimes they have history on jail cells, but
Nope.
No,
It was just one of the cells in there.
Just one of the inmates had some kind of issue in there.
And the version, yeah, it sounds like.
Wow.
Hmm.
Now I'm motivated to find that cell.
well, we'll just
And
turn
she
your
will.
sniffer on and let you loose. Like,
I
have fun,
probably have
Shelley.
pictures, because I do have pictures when I sit alone. I like to take a picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure I have pictures of just probably my cowboy boots sitting in front of me.
Well, have you gotten any evidence out of that cell other than the bad feeling?
Nope, nothing. I've had equipment set up in there. I've gotten no voices. I've gotten no responses, no noises. I mean, obviously, when it's a public investigation, you can't really bank on other noises that you hear, because there's so much people moving around. If it was a group that was together, it'd be different, but it was a free roam. And there was probably, I think, at least 15 people in the building. So you can't go off of sounds that you hear, because those walls echo in those prisons so much.
Right.
So I got
there's any kind of evidence other than me being nauseous.
It's feeling bad, yeah.
I gotta ask about Missouri State Pen. What's your favorite area besides that jail cell? I mean, do you have like an area that you're like, when we go, we're investigating here? I mean, I guess this is for both of y'all, really. Like, we're
3D.
investigating. 3D. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I think I outlined it in the book. It was our first time there, and we all walk in and we all set up. It was just the four of us, and we all walk in, and James usually sits down. He sets up equipment. Mateo usually wanders around because he's video, and Heather and I just kind of pick our spot. We kind of just settle in one spot, and I usually walk in the back. I always like to be in the back because I'm trying to get picked off. So.
See, Ryan, why couldn't you have that mentality at Waverly, man?
No, this dude to my left, well, you're right, wherever he is on the screen, about shoved me down to get in front of me, going down the tunnel and coming out of the tunnel in Waverly Hills Sanatorium to put me at the back because somebody couldn't handle being at the back. So,
hell no!
I love it. So
I usually caboose it too. Yeah.
Mhm.
If they aren't making me go first, then I'm caboosing it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm walking, and I thought that Mateo was walking next to me, and usually, like I said, he's always mobile, and I see him stop, turn, and walk into a cell, and I'm like, that's not like him. Usually he checks everything out with the cameras first.
Mm-hmm.
And then I look all the way down the hall, and I'm like, oh, there's Mateo. I'm going to set up right here. I didn't see anything else in that cell, but I mean, I actually thought it was a person. So
wow.
One of the 2 times I saw a full body apparition, both times I thought they were people.
So Heather, is that location same for you? Is that like the place where you just have to go whenever y'all go there?
Mateo has a cell that he always finds, and it's like we never can find it, and then all of a sudden it's just there.
And it's always the 2 of you.
It is.
It's only you 2. I've never been there before.
Yep. And we'll walk around the same floor, the same level 3 times and look in every single cell. And I can't remember exactly what the design is, but there was a particular design on the wall, which is how we knew that that's what the cell was. And we would make 3 loops, and then all of a sudden, there it is. And then we would go and try to find it again, and we wouldn't find it.
That's very interesting.
Bizarre. It's very bizarre.
So what's so special about that cell?
I don't know. He was the one drawn to it, and he if I remember correct, he just kind of kept going on about it, and I was like, well, okay, fine, then just show me the cell, like, let's go check it out. Well, he couldn't find it, and then all of a sudden he found it, and so then every time we went, I'd say, all right, let's go find your cell, and we would remember where it was, and we'd look and make 2, 3, 4 loops around and not find it, and then all of a sudden.
And do you remember what building it was in or anything like that? Or
was it?
If you were looping around, that would have been the women's building. Yeah. Yes, because that's why you left me alone.
Right, because you never want to be left alone.
I always want to be left alone.
Right.
I say it all the time at home too. Leave me alone.
I run off. Yeah, I run off just to be by myself. And like, I'm here. Come at me, boy. Here we go.
Yep.
Come see you, girl. I'm right here.
See, and I have to have a bathroom buddy, so it's all good. I mean, we leveled the field. It's all good.
Right.
Yeah, that's the women's, and then we have another cell that's. Oh my gosh, it's the building. It's not the main building. Did you hear my cat in the back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard him.
Oh, that was a cat? Okay.
Oh, poor kitty. It's like, pick me up, Mom.
No, Dad's over there, and he's in the kitchen, so he's begging for food. So I think it was in the same building as Death Row. Is that the one that's... No, Death Row is on the right, and then the other building on the left that had a basement. And Heather and I were coming up from the basement, and we were both drawn.
Oh, yeah.
Both drawn to a room. And we just walked in there. I don't think we set up any equipment at all. We just both sat on each one of the.
There were 2 cots in there, and we each just sat down on one of them.
And then something sat next to me, and I could feel it move next to me. And I got the knots in my stomach, and I started feeling really bad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just want to sit this out. I want to see what this is building up to. And then James and Mateo came out and they're like, where are you girls? We're in here. I'm kind of feeling icky. And he's like, get out, Kristin. I'm like, no. But
you're like, never mind, I'm fine. Leave me alone.
So I don't think we have actually found that cell again. We've tried to, but we haven't verified which one it was.
Mm-hmm.
I just know it's one of 3 cells
right
over there.
I can only imagine that place is so freaking massive.
It is.
To even
So
is
we're
it
right FaceTime y'all next Sunday night. Y'all make sure
Exactly,
you're there.
Hopefully you don't get caught in the same situation we did last time. There was a shooting like a half a block, maybe a block away.
Oh dang!
Yeah, our police escort had to lock us into the building or into the prison.
Oh, okay.
Like we were hearing pop, 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 pop. It was not just a few shots. It was
Dang.
a lot. So
We're
Now,
like, we'll take our chances in here.
yeah, everybody's standing outside. What's going on? I'm like, how about we get into this big limestone building?
Yes,
here?
let's get behind the walls here.
That's what I'd be like. No,
Let's
we're
put something in between
yeah.
us and the pop pops. Okay.
matter of fact, we're just gonna go down to solid. Great time to investigate solitary.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, is it bigger than Ohio State Reformatory?
There's more buildings. I don't
Okay.
think it was. I think square footage wise, I don't think it was bigger.
Okay.
I think Mansfield was big, a little bit bigger, but Missouri State Penn is just so spread out because they've got 3 buildings and then the gas chamber down the hill. So land wise, I think that Missouri State Penn was bigger, but
Okay.
the buildings themselves, I think Ohio was bigger.
Okay.
Okay. Well, very good to know.
We're super excited. We're taking notes because we're leaving in about 6 days or so.
Awesome. Awesome.
I have 5D circled right here.
It's 3D.
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 Yeah.
Oh, I can read my own.
You're
too. Okay.
Shelley. You're thinking of the steakhouse in Yorktown.
Yeah, that's right. It was.
Well, now I
3D.
want steak.
Girl, I do too. Let's go get steak.
The gas chamber is cool if you get a chance to investigate that.
That's already written down. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
that's happening.
Well, Kristin, what was the camera thing that showed the little stick people?
The X cam.
SLS cams.
Techie right here, tech. And Mateo and I were we were each sitting in one of the chairs because there's 2 chairs right next to each other in the gas chamber, and something was sitting on me.
Oh.
And they're like, well, you guys get up and switch places and see what happens. So we got up and we switched chairs, and that thing followed me right around and sat right back down on me in the other chair.
Oh
Really?
Oh, that's cool.
I think it was holding her hand for a little while there.
wow.
I don't think we have that recorded. So like, I'm the one who was watching and I'm like, it's on your shoulder. And then it's like grabbing your hand. And then it looked like it was doing this. I'm like, Heather, let me tell Darren about this.
That's where I go. I go to the gas chamber, right?
I was gonna say,
It's just like I've
so
been
that-
here for a real long time. How's it going?
so that you said that was in the gas chamber.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh, I know what we're gonna have a little specialty equipment to go down to the gas chamber with the SLS camera with
Absolutely.
one of our friends that is coming. Yes,
Oh, nice.
we have a Chad Wandell with Ghost Geeks. He has a SLS camera, but he basically has flipped it around and projects it into the room instead of staring at the screen. So it kind of makes it a little bit more like 3D-ish.
You can literally turn
if you
your
will.
head and see something mapping in next to you.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
It
So-
projects it into the room. If you say sit down on this chair, you're standing there, you can literally watch it sit down in the chair if that's what it's
Mhm.
doing.
Yeah.
It's right next to you.
It's really cool.
yeah.
Very
So we'll have
cool.
to test.
Not on
We'll
the
have to test
screen,
that
it's
out.
in the room.
Next thing we know, we're just gonna put Shelly in a chair. You see the screen stick figure just doing like this, on her, just chicka bow wow.
Makes them bring $5.
We had that happen at Ashmore when we had the SLS camera on.
Yeah.
I think it was near the boiler room. And James had it on me and I'm just standing there by myself. And he's like, Kristin, you're getting a little action there. I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this. And then I actually felt something touch me, and I'm like, okay, we're going to cover up a little bit.
Okay, so I have to ask, what's the dirtiest thing a ghost has ever done to you?
Oh, shit.
Oh, probably that. Just a grab.
Grabbed you where? Upstairs? Okay.
Upstairs.
Upstairs.
In the chest area for those.
Yeah.
The chesticles. Okay. He got you in the chesticles.
I think first word school, there was somebody that was wearing a dress and sitting on the floor next to me. I don't know why she was wearing a dress during an investigation, but she was sitting on the floor and she got grabbed. Her crotch got grabbed, and she just jumped right out of it, right up. She was
that'll make you move.
Yeah. It would make me move if anybody would move. That happening all of a sudden.
Oh yeah.
Shelley was there when I got my inner thigh grabbed. Very, very, very close to the groinage area. And I was under Estes, and I was like, oh god, like
that would be even worse under Estes.
I couldn't see, couldn't hear anything, and all the next thing I know, I was like, oh.
Spiritually goosed.
I'm done. I was like, I'm done.
And
we tried to trigger that before.
Lifted up whenever we were.
Oh yeah,
I literally had somebody put their hand at the back of my skirt and flip my back of my dress. Yeah, because we were dressed in all West costumes because we were being human trigger objects. So of course, I'm dressed like the saloon girl. Well, they were just like, hello, and I was like, whoa, who are you? So, yeah.
Never seen Shelley move so fast out of a corner.
I don't usually jump or
she does
that.
I
came out of that corner.
Yeah.
So how about you, Heather?
No.
What? They don't get all touchy feely with you? You ain't never even got goosed?
No. The one true physical contact that I had was at the asylum. We were down in the tunnel, and I was back up against, there's like these pipes that run pretty much the whole length, and we had the spirit box going. And one thing that you do one investigation with me, I don't scare very easy, but I'm very jumpy. I'm the one that's like walking with a flashlight and it reflects off something and I scare myself and like jump.
Yeah.
But I very rarely truly get scared. And so a couple of the other investigators the whole night were like, oh, try to scare Heather, whatever. And we had the spirit box running and we were getting, it said like danger and run. And, and I was just sitting, and all of a sudden the spirit box said something, and then I felt it felt like a claw, and it just started right at the nape of my neck and went all the way down my spine. I jumped and I leapt across and I landed on the other side of the room against the wall, and I just slid down. I was shaking. I could not, I just and
did
when
it
I
mark you?
It did not. When we listened back to the audio to find out what was said, it said down her back.
Whoa!
Oh, wow!
And that was right. And eventually, we've been doing this a long time. She looked at me and she said, "We got to get her out of here." And that was probably about the only time that I've had to physically leave a building. But what I will say is that we don't understand what they're capable of. We don't understand the whole time you're asking for proof, you're asking for them to communicate with you. So was that meant to be a negative experience? I don't know. It very well might not have been. So before we left, I did apologize for how I reacted, because if it was not meant to be that, I didn't want to send the message that it wasn't okay. Again, because we don't know what their capabilities are. We don't know, and you never know intent. And my interpretation might not have been what the intent was.
Trying to do, yeah.
I think that's what we three agree on as well, is that just because it's a scratch doesn't mean that it's a negative thing. It just may be that that's the only way they know how to get across to the other side.
Or maybe they're trying to grab at you, and to hit you wrong, or you just don't know.
Yeah.
And especially if you're not provoking, if you're not doing anything.
Right.
Well, at the asylum, I See, I don't feel it when I get scratched. There's a spot in the asylum that there's a spirit that does not like me. Like I can say at least 3 times I've been scratched, and another time I felt like I got stabbed in the stomach.
Wow.
But there's, I mean, that was the only feeling I had. But then when I got scratched, I didn't feel the physical scratch. I felt the after effects of the scratch.
She actually had a welt on her face.
Well, I have dermatographia, so anything that touches my skin will leave a mark. So I had 2 scratches along my face. There was another time there was, again, like she had, I had the scratch down my back. There was 2 scratches down my back. And that one really welted up. But like I said, my skin reacts like that when you touch it with anything. I mean, I could touch it with my nail, just barely, not even scratch. But I guess that is a really easy way of picking up on any kind of contact that I have.
Definitely.
That's true. It's kind of like your own paranormal etch-a-sketch.
Yeah. Usually it's just my boyfriend writing profanities on my arm.
Because see, that's exactly what I would do too.
He's just touching me, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Nothing." I look at it 5 minutes later. I'm like, "What's gonna be there?"
Wait a minute.
I love that. Well, I tell you what, ladies, we are running out of time. We don't want to keep you over time. Why don't you guys tell them where they can find you and where they can get your book?
Go for it.
It's just
Barnes and Noble, Amazon. Yeah. Check it out.
And where can they find you guys?
We are on Facebook. You can just look up the book title, and that is our Facebook page.
All right.
Unlock the unknown. Keys to the paranormal. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, with that, Blake, why don't you tell them everything that they need to know?
Absolutely. Well, y'all hang tight with us. Just a few announcements. I'm not going to make it too long tonight since we do have special guests. We're not going to go the whole lengthy page thing. But anyways, just remember that season 1, season 2 of After Dark with EVP is live and out on Paraflix Paranormal Plus. We are getting ready to kick off season 3 as well. Also, make sure that you check our Facebook page tomorrow via our Linktree link. We will have our Patreon page, which is just $5 a month. You can get over 400 additional Patreon exclusive videos where we just act foolish and stupid. So that's going to also be in those show notes for you audio listeners. So make sure you find us on all our social media channels as well. Search everything Vaguely Paranormal. Look for that green sound wave. And remember, any stories, comments, or questions you have, you can submit those to us at the evppod@gmail.com. That is THEEVPPOD@gmail.com.
Go like, share, and subscribe to that YouTube page. Something I can't talk. Well, we want to thank our special guests tonight, Kristin Menth and Heather Bourget, right? Bourget. See, I'm going to say it's like Heather Bourget and Kristin Menth. Thank you, our very special guest. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
Thanks to everybody who tuned in. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. My name is Shelley Pruitt. My partners in the paranormal, Mr. Blake Smith and Mr. Ryan Roberts. Thank you for joining us on Everything Vaguely Paranormal. And as always, we will see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.